Welcome, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Geektopia. I'm your host, Barry, and today's podcast is it's just going to be me talking about why I love Batman so much. um, Anyone that knows me knows that Batman is my favourite character in the history of pop culture. He's hands down my favourite superhero without question. And you know what Batman means to me and why I love Batman so much. Now, admittedly, I'd never actually picked up a DC comic prior to Batman the Animated Series, which of course was released in 1992. Um, the best superhero cartoon of all time, in my opinion, and not just that, just one of the best animated shows of all time. Um, that was very much my introduction to the character. I mean, I'd seen some episodes here and there of the '60s Batman starring Adam West and Burt Ward, which were great fun and that for their time. I think the '60s TV show very much kind of pushed Batman into the mainstream. The animated series, though, just kind of like it just transcended as to what was seen in animation at that time. Just such mature, rich storytelling, fantastic animation. Just, each episode, every episode had like a real kind of cinematic quality to it. Stellar voice acting. We got Kevin Conroy as Batman. We got Mark Hamill as the Joker. And just some of the best iterations of these characters that I believe we've ever seen on the screen. Now, it was watching these cartoons. My dad used to record them for me. They used to be on every Saturday morning, and I used to spend most weekends with my dad, and he recorded. I probably must have had about 45 episodes recorded on VHS, and I just used to watch them over and over again. And it got to the point, as I got a little older, because obviously I was 10 years old when the show first aired, I thought to myself, do you know what? I want to start reading some Batman. I want to start reading some DC comics. And I'll admit, it wasn't really until the New 52 come out in 2011. The Court of Owls, which I thought was a fantastic storyline, and I know most Batman fans would agree, one of the best Batman storylines in years, courtesy of Scott Snyder. And I actually backtracked and read a lot of kind of pre-New 52 stuff. And he's just a character that I've just fell in love with. What I love about Batman is the sense of this is a guy that's essentially a normal guy. This is a guy that he wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider. He didn't come from a planet called Krypton. He wasn't exposed to radiation or injected with a super soldier serum. This is a guy that was essentially born out of tragedy and a person that has really tried to become the best person he can, both psychologically and physically. Obviously, very adept at martial arts, highly trained in many martial arts, degrees in psychology, forensics, criminal psychology. He's very much kind of a thinking man superhero. This is, Batman he's just very much kind of the peak as to what a human could be. You know, um, he has limitations. There are limitations there. He's a flawed, fallible individual. And unlike the vast majority of other superheroes, I believe, Batman is the person he is. That Bruce Wayne actually died the very night that his parents, Martha and Thomas, were shot in Crime Alley. He became Batman. He made that decision from there that his life was going to change, that he was going to become the best person he could be, and help others. And, you know, Gotham in itself is the whole mythos surrounding this character. Gotham is like a character in its own right. His parents did everything they could to try and help Gotham City. But Gotham City has always been, overrun and ridden with these criminals. And, Batman has vowed, Bruce vowed as a young child that he would never give up, that he would never give up on this never seemingly never ending mission to rid crime in Gotham. I mean, it's impossible. There's criminals everywhere. but he still puts his life on the line all the time. You know, this isn't a guy that's bulletproof like Superman. He could shot and be killed, but he's had to perfect and hone his skills so well to try and prevent that from happening. You know, and obviously he's a character, a hero that very much strikes fear into a lot of the criminals. Um, you know, and he has such a great array of allies as well, with Jim Gordon, a man who, in his own way, is trying to make a difference to Gotham City. You know, Alfred, his closest ally and friend. This is the man that brought him up after his parents' demise. You know, Alfred become his best friend. And then, of course, you know, over the years, the Bat family is obviously greatly extended. We've had multiple Robins with, you know, Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and obviously, you know, we've had Batgirl with Barbara Gordon and Stephanie Brown. Just the entire Bat family, these allies. I mean, me personally, I prefer Batman when he's kind of on his own, or maybe limited to like one Batman, to one Robin, sorry. Dick Grayson, the original and best Robin, in my opinion, who obviously did later become Nightwing, you know, a hero in his own right. Um, but it's just that whole Batman is essentially a normal person. He's a normal person, but the mask he wears to the world is Bruce Wayne. Batman is what defines him now. And it really is quite tragic in a way because you know there's been multiple storylines over the years where there's a chance of Bruce to give up this life and he can't. He doesn't know any other way. The billionaire playboy is the mask that he wears. It's this facade that he creates to the outside world. But deep down, this is a man seething, very, very deep down. This is a man seething with a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. And all the money in the world can't change that. People can say, oh, look, you can get over that. You're a billionaire. You've got all this money. It doesn't change the fact that this is a traumatized, tormented individual that has dedicated his entire life to fighting crime because of what he witnessed as a child. Um, the fact that he's a master of stealth, as I said, he's a great thinker. Batman's the kind of character that usually thinks a few moves ahead. He's obviously got above average IQ, very intelligent. Um, you know, he's a guy that's highly trained in martial arts. And obviously his array of gadgets. Now, you know, you could say, "Yeah, you're a billionaire, you can afford the gadgets. What would Batman be without the gadgets?" Well, I'm not being funny. There's a lot of people on the planet that are millionaires and billionaires, but would they really dedicate their life to fighting crime? You know, I realise we're talking about a fictional character here. I get that. This is how the character was written, etc. But realistically speaking, just because someone's got billions doesn't mean they'd actually be able to do what he does because he has trained himself mentally and physically for this and devoted his entire life to this. Um, the array of gadgets, the Batmobile, come on, it's the Batmobile. It's one of the coolest cars out there, isn't it, in the history of pop culture? My favourite Batmobile being the 89 and 92 Tim Burton film Batmobile, along with the 1992 animated series. I really love the look of that sleek kind of Batmobile. You know, the Batwing, I mean, the Batmobile in itself is an iconic thing. You know, the Batcave in itself is an iconic thing. Um, you know, the villains, I mean, you know, you could say that, you know, a hero is only as good as the villains he's got, and Batman has, in my eyes, and I think a lot of people would probably agree, probably the greatest array of villains in all of comic books. He has so many iconic villains and even great lesser known villains that have never really had much of the limelight, you know, away from the comic books and that. You know, you've got Joker, Riddler, Two Face, Scarecrow, Bane, Penguin, you know, Clayface, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Catwoman. The list just goes on and on. And obviously, since the character's been around since 1939, you know, he was DC's second big superhero just after Superman. He's certainly, without a doubt, him and Superman have kind of become the blueprint, I feel, for many superheroes to follow. I'm not saying that these characters are carbon copies, but their personality traits and aspects of these characters have obviously been used to influence other characters over the years. It all kind of started with Superman and Batman, for DC. And because he's been around for so long, as you can imagine, how many goddamn storylines have been used over the years, how many storylines he's appeared in. Um, so many great writers have taken over writing duties for Batman. And then obviously a lot of success on the big screen as well. What with the two Tim Burton directed films. I'm not really going to talk about the Joel Schumacher. I thought Batman Forever was okay. Batman and Robin, a travesty, but we're not going to talk about that. But again, just on the big screen, Batman's had quite a lot of success. The "I'm Batman" by Michael Keaton has become an iconic line. It's become a famous line. It gave us Heath Ledger's Joker. It gave us, Jack Nicholson's Joker. Two fantastic Jokers, in my opinion, for different reasons. Portrayed by many. Adam West has brought him to the mainstream. Michael Keaton is probably still my personal favourite Batman. I thought Ben Affleck was perfectly fine in the role. I don't feel like he had necessarily the best material to work with. George Clooney, we're not going to talk about him, unfortunately. No problems with George Clooney. It was just a terrible film. And, well, it was George Clooney being George Clooney, wasn't it? Just yeah, with Batman, and then the Arkham series in video games. I mean, Arkham Asylum came out in 2009. It was a very successful game, a fantastic superhero game that for me was almost unprecedented when that came out. I'd never played a superhero video game like it. I mean, I played Spider-Man 2, which was a great game, but Arkham Asylum was something else. So I just think Batman is one of them characters that has just been thrown into so many arts of the medium: comic books, video games, TV, films, and he's an icon. I don't matter what, it doesn't matter what country you're from, how old you are. I think everyone knows who Batman is. He's an icon. He's not just some popular character. He's actually become an iconic character that has very much become part of popular culture, very much kind of ingrained in it. I must quickly note as well the animated films. I think that aside from the animated series, and there was also one called The Batman as well in the 2000s, is DC have had quite a lot of success with their animated films. Batman has, yeah, been thrown into a lot of them animated movies as well. With the DC animated universe, voiced by Jason O'Mara in all the DCAU films. He's a character that's always been there since 1939. With some characters that I could probably say, yes, maybe there's an oversaturation with certain characters. But the thing is, well, Batman, I don't know. I know Batman's here, there, and everywhere. But I've never tired of Batman at all. For the dynamics of the character, the villains, the allies, the fact that he's a very complex individual. Batman isn't a black and white kind of person. He's a man that certainly he's a man that, as I've said, has dedicated his entire life to crime fighting without actually having any superpowers. He's highly skilled, but I feel like he's so skilled that he actually gives the illusion to many of his criminals that he is superpowered. He's a member of the Justice League. He's very much the leader of that team. He's the brains of the operation, if you will, and he's an incredibly valuable asset to the Justice League. This isn't just a rich guy in a suit. This is a guy that has so many complexities to him. This is a guy that's has so many strong attributes. And yeah, Arkham Asylum, quickly, before I wrap up the podcast, another great setting, actually based and modelled on a real life asylum. Again, many of Batman's villains have been there. They're in and out of there like a revolving door. And it's the whole kind of Batman's code as well of not killing. Now, admittedly, Batman has killed. We all know Batman has killed, but he usually does it in an indirect manner. In the original comics, Batman did wield guns. That changed as the years went on, and Batman does kill, but he does it, as I say, in an indirect manner. you know, for example, in '89's Batman, great film, but when he, throws the guy off the bell tower, there's no way that guy's going to survive that. But he still has that moral code. He won't kill in a direct manner. He has that strong moral code, and he's looked at the abyss, and he's always fearful of going down that. If he goes down that abyss, there's just no going back from there. So yeah. So basically, the animated series was very much my introduction. That's what got me in love with the character. Then it kind of really the films, the live action films, and then it was the comic books. And I've read a lot of comics in a relatively short space of time over the last 10 to 15 years. I've got through a lot of comics. Had to do a lot of backtracking because it is quite daunting considering the character's been around for over 80 years now, and you think how many comic books are out. It's very daunting. It's like, where do you start? And I've just had to kind of like read up some of the best, find out what some of the best Batman storylines are out there, and just really kind of go from there. So yeah, and obviously very excited for the 2021 film, which we're getting in March next year. Seriously hyped for it, and yeah, I just want to see more and more Batman. Can't really get enough of the character. So yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say today. Yeah, it was a bit of a rant. I do apologise, but just what it means to me, and I've been collecting Batman merchandise for quite some time now as well. I collect the statues, Batman socks, and boxer shorts. I know I'm a sad little man, and prints, comics, and whatever else I can get. The thing is, with Batman being such a huge popular character, there's just a never-ending supply of merchandise. It is just impossible, literally impossible to collect it all. But yeah, I get what I can. I get what I can afford, and yeah. Anyway, thanks for everyone that listened, and that's it for today. Thank you.